Notes today are on parallel and perpendicular lines. Parallel and perpendicular lines, we'll be defining what parallel and perpendicular mean. We will talk about the slopes of lines that are parallel or the slopes of lines that are perpendicular. We'll talk about how to tell if two lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither. And we'll also be writing equations of parallel and perpendicular lines. So starting off with some vocabulary. Parallel lines. Parallel lines are lines that are in the same plane that never intersect. Lines in the same plane that never intersect. So parallel lines would look something like that. Two lines that never intersect are parallel lines. Perpendicular lines, they do intersect, but they intersect to form right angles, 90-degree angles. So something like this, where this is a 90-degree angle, those lines would be perpendicular. We will also use the phrase negative reciprocal or opposite reciprocal. Numbers that are opposite reciprocals have a product means multiply, of -1. The product of the two numbers is -1, then they would be opposite reciprocals. So to multiply things together and get a negative number, that means one needs to be positive and one needs to be negative. And then reciprocal is when we flip it. So if I have a number of 2/3, the negative reciprocal or the opposite reciprocal, this one's positive, so this one's going to be negative. And instead of 2/3, the reciprocal would be 3/2. If I have just an integer like -5, the opposite reciprocal, well, this one's negative, so this one needs to be positive, and I need to flip it. I don't have a denominator. I do have a denominator, it's just not written. So if it's not there, make it over 1, and then it's easy to flip. Positive 1/5 would be the opposite reciprocal of -5. Slopes of lines. If I have parallel lines have the same slope. Parallel lines have the same slope, and they have different y-intercepts. If they had the same y-intercept and the same slope, they'd be the same line. So same slope, but they do have different y-intercepts. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. Slopes are opposite reciprocals. They could have the same y-intercept, they could have different y-intercepts. The important thing to know is parallel lines have the same slope. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocals. So example 1, our instructions ask us to tell whether the lines are parallel, perpendicular, or neither one. So we'll be given two lines. We want to know, are those parallel lines, are they perpendicular lines, or are they neither? Part A, or number 1, I guess, says y equals 4x plus 3/4. Y equals 4x plus 3/4, and this one's y equals -1/4 x plus 4. Remember, we're thinking through y equals mx plus b. M is slope. So the thing next to the x is the slope. So this first line has a slope of 4. And this line has a slope of -1/4. Parallel lines have the same slope. Those are not the same, so it cannot be parallel. Perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite. This one's positive and this one's negative. Reciprocals, this one's 4/1 and this one's 1/4. Those are opposite reciprocals. These two lines are perpendicular. Number 2, same directions. Parallel lines, perpendicular lines, or neither one. Y equals 5x. Remember, slope is 5. Y equals negative 5x plus 7. Slope is negative 5. You always want to think through, are these slopes the same? 5 and negative 5 are not the same. And then are they opposite reciprocals? Positive and negative, they are opposites, but notice I did not flip it. These are neither parallel nor perpendicular. Notice if I have a graph and I go up 5 over 1, up 5 over 1, that's going to look something like this. Down 5 over 1, down 5 over 1 looks like that. These are not right angles here. Number 3. Number 3 is a little bit different here. We're given x equals 2 and y equals 9. X equals 2 and y equals 9. Notice this is not in slope-intercept form. Y equals mx plus b. I can't think through what the slope of that is with slope-intercept form. Let's sketch a graph. I think that might be the best method here. Y equals 9 and x equals 2. So x equals 2 is a vertical line through 2. And y equals 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 is a horizontal line through 9. Notice if I extend this, if I have a vertical line and a horizontal line, those lines are indeed perpendicular. Notice the slope of this one is 0. The slope here, remember, a vertical line, it's undefined. Notice if I have y equals mx plus b, I don't have a y at all. There is no slope, undefined slope. Number 4, 3x minus 5y equals 3. And negative 5x plus 3y equals 8. Remember, we're comparing the slopes. This is not in slope-intercept form. It does not say y equals. So we are going to start by doing what we did last class and change to slope-intercept form. So we're going to start by subtracting 3x from both sides. Notice these are two different equations here. So I've got minus 5y equals 3 minus 3x. Let's put the x first. Negative 3x, positive 3, plus 3. Divide both sides by negative 5. So we get y equals negative divided by negative, so that's positive. 3 divided by 5. Doesn't come out even, just leave it as 3 divided by 5x. Positive divided by negative, that's minus 3 divided by 5. And now we can tell that our slope of this line is 3 over 5. Let's try this one. On this one, I'm going to start by adding 5x to both sides. Again, we need to change to slope-intercept form. I get 3y equals 8 plus 5x. Positive 5x plus 8. Divide both sides by 3. 5 divided by 3x plus 8 divided by 3. Slope of this line is 5 over 3. Well, slopes are not the same, so they're not parallel. We flipped it. Instead of 3 over 5, we have 5 over 3, but they're not opposites. In order to be perpendicular, they need to be opposite reciprocals. This is neither. One more example like this. Let's do one more. It asks, are the graphs y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5 and 2x plus 6y equals 12, are they parallel, are they perpendicular, or are they neither one? And explain why. Y equals negative 1/3 x plus 5 and 2x plus 6y equals 12. This first line, y equals mx plus b, it's in slope-intercept form. We can see the slope right away. We don't need to do any work to get the slope. The slope is negative 1/3. This one does not say y equals anything. X and y are on the same side. This is standard form. If it's in standard form, we want to change to slope-intercept form. Subtract 2x from both sides. Negative 2x plus 12. Divide both sides by 6. I get y equals negative divided by positive, that's negative 2 over 6, x plus 12 divided by 6. We always want to reduce if we can. 2 and 6. I can divide those both by 2. So this equation says y equals negative 1/3 x plus 2. Slope of this line is negative 1/3. Slope of this line was negative 1/3. They are parallel lines. Explain, I would make sure I have this work on here, and then I would state that both slopes are equal to each other. Both slopes are negative 1/3. The last couple examples are a little bit different. Instead of asking us, are the lines parallel or perpendicular or neither one? Now we're asked to write an equation that is parallel or perpendicular to the given line. So this one, it says, write an equation for the line that passes through the point 5, 1 and is parallel to y equals 3/5 x minus 4. We've done problems like this. It didn't say this and is parallel to. It said and has a slope of whatever. If I know a slope and a point, we can write an equation of a line. So we need to think about what line has a slope that is parallel to y equals 3/5 x minus 4. Well, this slope is 3/5. So the slope of my line also should be 3/5 because it needs to be equal. I need a slope of 3/5. Use point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times the quantity x minus x1. Slope needs to be 3/5. x1 is 5. y1 is 1. Distribute. 3/5 times x. 3/5 times negative 5. Positive times negative. 3/5 times 5. 3 times 5 is 15. 5 times 1 is 5. 15 divided by 5 is 3. Add 1 to both sides. Y equals 3/5 x minus 2. Last one, similar problem. Write an equation for the line that contains the point -3, 6 and is perpendicular to y equals 3x plus 9. I need the equation of a perpendicular line this time. Well, this slope is 3 over 1. So the slope of the line I'm trying to write should be opposite reciprocal, because perpendicular lines have slopes that are opposite reciprocal. So instead of 3 over 1, it's 1 over 3. And instead of positive, it's negative. I have a point and a slope. We can write an equation of a line. Point slope form. Y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. Fill in our slope. Fill in the point. X minus -3 is going to say x plus 3. Y minus 6. Distribute your -1/3. Negative times positive is -1/3 times 3 is 1. Add 6 to both sides. And we get our answer, y equals -1/3 x plus 5.